Hello, this is the Trade Ideas Market Recap for Friday, May the 30th. My name is Barry Enerson. I'm the moderator of the trading room. This is the address to get into the room. You can log in as a guest or use your Facebook or your Twitter account to log in. We have a lot of charts to get to today and a lot to talk about, so I'm going to get right to it. First one to take a look at is Microsoft. Now, I don't know how many videos ago, but Microsoft came up on one of my scans and I didn't take the trade because I thought it would be a boring trade and all that. And I think it tacked on about $1 that day. So I remember saying to myself, if it ever happens again, I'm going to take Microsoft. So Microsoft actually showed up on my break of the 20-day high. Now, again, my inward bias is still to think that it's not going to be that dynamic, but I decided to absolutely take the trade today. So the break of the 20-day high was at 40.50, and so right there is the break of the 40-day high. And so I took the trade at 40.55, and I peeled off half of it at 40.66 and then another portion at 40.90 as it had this tremendous, for Microsoft anyway, a huge big green 2-minute candle that went up. Really, I was surprised, I have to admit, but I thought maybe it would stall at 41, so I took some of the trade out at 40.90. I actually still own a little bit of it still, and see the price is 40.82. There's about half an hour left in the market, so I'll have to see what's going to happen. I've got to stop in, I think, at 40.78. So if it goes down to 40.78, I'm out of the trade. But nonetheless, a really nice trade for Microsoft. A couple of people have asked me about my breaks of the 20-day high and what do all these columns mean. And I'll just briefly tell you what they mean and how they really help me and how I've color coded it. So again, it's a break of the 20-day high, but I have other filters in place. So the evening after the market closes, I do a scan and I get a list of stocks that are going to be considered for breaks of a 20-day high. And I have other filters in place that help me in the scan. And once I get that list, then I put that list into this particular window, which I then monitor the next day. So this is the 20-day high column. So obviously $80.70 was the 20-day high of ACN. And what happens is that once a stock gets to be at breaks through its 20-day high, the row turns from white to blue. So that instantly tells me when that happens. Now I can also tell here that this is the high of the day minus the 20-day high. So that means that ACN at one point was 63 cents above the 20-day high. This was 44 cents, 60 cents, 40 cents. So it can instantly tell me what the maximum I could have made had I taken the trade. I mean, I'm not saying that that's obviously not the norm. You're never going to be able to normally sell right at the top, but it gives me a good idea about how much money I could have made if I'd got into the trade. Now, I have to tell you, today I kind of blew it a lot because I only took the one trade, the MSF Microsoft trade on my 20-day high breaks, but there were others I could have taken, but there were other stocks that I was actually into, so I just, quite frankly, I just missed them. But this tells me right now, this price minus the 20-day high, this is telling me right at this point, where is the stock in relation to the 20-day high? So the stock is sitting at 21.67. So the 20-day high is 21.50. So obviously it's 17 cents above. That's why this is still blue. Now this is a nice column to take a look at, not just from the fact that it's going to change from white to blue, but it can also tell me if a stock ever broke above its 20-day high. If this is positive, so that's 5 cents right here. So that's telling me that at one point PCG was 5 cents above the 20-day high. This tells me that EXC was 1 cent above the 20-day high. So that means if I had taken the trade and not exited it, I'd be down 2 cents because right now, or now it just changed. Now I'm 3 cents under the 20-day high. This is 11 cents under the 20-day high. These numbers are telling me that these stocks never triggered. The best that this came was not within 19 cents of the 20-day high, and so on. Now, this is another nice number that I have that I use. This tells me where the stock opened with relation to the 20-day high. And I, of course, I want to see all these stocks in the negative because if the stock opened well above the 20-day high, then perhaps it's probably a trade I'm not going to take. So you can see here that Microsoft, I was well aware of Microsoft first thing in the morning because it opened only 4 cents under the 20-day high. So I was all kind of all over Microsoft right at the beginning. When I say all over, I wanted to really watch it closely. So this is how these columns really help me to tell me, how to judge these trades, how well they're doing. And at the end of the day, I take a look at them all and just exactly to see how well would they have done. If I just taken 100 shares of each one of these, what would I have done at the end of the day if I could have got out at the top? Again, not likely you're going to get it at the top, but it's a good gauge for my strategy. So that was Microsoft. Now the next trade I took was an FNSR, and this came on one of my bounce strategies. And so I'm looking for the bounce, and you can see that what I did was watch this come down. I was probably alerted to it right there, and this is the last red candle right here. And I think the low of that is 24.01 and the high is about 24.04. So I took the trade right when it broke above the that candle and at 24.05, and looked like well, started to go up, but I mean, we're only talking pennies. But then the minute it broke down through that whole number again, I exited the trade. And to a fault, sometimes I'm a little jumpy because obviously that could have jumped right back up. But again, when it broke down through the whole number, I thought, no, I'm going to get out of it. So I took what did I take on that one? A 7 cent loss on this one. And luckily I did because it really didn't do anything for the rest of the day. Luckily I did in terms of getting out when I did, and I didn't try to hang on. Now, the next trade was HCN. Now, HCN actually, I'm going to have to bring in another. It came from this, my basic high lows. And now all this is showing me the highs and lows of stocks as they're making new intraday highs and lows. Anything in yellow is making a new low, and anything in green is making a new high. So at the time that I saw this and I was watching all this, you can see that there were very, very few stocks making new highs at this time. And so I looked at HCN as a possible candidate, sort of as a contrary trade. Market's going down, but this is going up. And what intrigued me on this is when I looked at the daily and I saw that there was a lot of like a little bit of room on this daily chart. And so I took the trade. You can see it's sort of a channel here, a constant up. And so when it came back down here, I took the trade at 63.19, and I held up for quite a long time. And I exited half of it at 63.41. And it's not marked here, but I did exit the other half at I think it was 63.32. So, I mean, nothing fantastic, but I thought as an indicator, I like to use this, especially if I see a sea of yellow, but I see the odd stock is green. I always like to check, well, first of all, what sector it is in, and the healthcare sector seemed to be doing not badly, and this was one of those REITs. So I thought, okay, I'll get into it, and plus the fact that it's just standing out like sticking out like a sore thumb. Why is it green and everything else is yellow? And then, of course, the daily helped me, gave me a little more confidence to take the trade. So that was HCN. The next trade, now this was kind of a fun trade. This was WPG. Now I have to show you on the daily. This is obviously a fairly new issue, about 10 days old, so it's a little bit scary. But you can see it put in a bottom on 2 days at around 1950 on the first day and on the third day. So it looked like maybe that could be a good bottom. And so WCG, it came in on my bounce, one of my bounce alerts. And let me see if I can find it. WCG came in, or WPG, I'm sorry, came in at 230. So right here, let me just bring this in. So right here, I received the alert at 2:30 and at 1962. So right in this area here. So excuse me, watched it go down a little bit, right to this level, and then it looked like it wanted to hold this level. And so I took the trade at 1960. I know Paul in the room, I think, took it at 1956. But I took the trade right here at 1960, and it came back down again. I was getting a little bit nervous because just because you've got a little bit of support here doesn't mean anything really on such a new issue. I mean, it could have blown right through that. A lot of people deciding just to get out, and so I was trigger happy. I have to admit, I think it got down to, what did it get down to? Low was 1952, so I was definitely trigger happy. But then the next candle, a nice, beautiful 2-minute candle that shot it all the way into 1972, and I took half out at 1982 and the other half out at 1983. So really a very quick trade and a bit of a scary one, but a good trade. The last trade that I did was CQH. Now, this came in on, let me just back this out here. This came in on my one of my custom setups. Now, this was another very scary trade. Now, luckily, I got out right here at 26.95. I'm going to show you why I did that. But I also want to show you LNG because this is Cheniere, I guess in the States you guys call it Cheniere energy. But LNG, let me just bring in LNG, is we go. Is a Cheniere Energy also, and you can see that on the daily. I mean, it's had another really a 2-day run, and so I know this was tied to it. And so when I looked at CQH, the alert actually came in at 220, so right in this area here. And I watched it, and the spread was really bad. It was really a bad spread, so I backed away from it. I alerted the room to it at the time, but I think I even said risky, risky, risky. But when it consolidated nicely here, I decided to take the trade at 26.92. The problem is you see this big volume spike that came in, and I mentioned in room, and it didn't do a thing to the stock. I mean, literally, the spread had tightened. It was, I think it was 295, 296 at the time, or 296, or 90, sorry, 290, 26, sorry, 2696, 2697, 2695, 2696. So in other words, the spread had really tightened up. It was only a penny. But I was getting really nervous here. The longer this went without it moving up, I didn't like it. And I think I actually exited the room right here, about 308 or so, yeah, 308 for the day. I said goodbye, and I decided to get out of the trade. And, my good fortune, because literally in about 4 minutes later, it dropped down to, what was it, down to 2669 or so. So I got out of the trade, but again, I've noticed this in the past. I mean, is it always a tell? Not always. Sometimes, I mean, the stock can go up. But let me put it this way: if the stock doesn't go up on such high volume, and it's taking like another 10 minutes, and it's a kind of a specky stock. This is not Microsoft, okay, which you don't expect is going to have like a huge collapse or anything. These are very specky. I decided then that I'm just going to get out. And you know what? If the next second it blasted through 27 all the way to 28, so be it. But I'd rather be. I'm a more of a protective type trader, and so I like to play the odds a little bit more. And so again, when I see this, no movement at all. I'm out. And it took me a little while. I didn't get out immediately, but I did get out, and I'm so lucky I did. I just want to show you a couple of trades, though, that I didn't, and what can happen, when you're day trading. And this was OVTI. Now I had alerted the room to this right in this area here. I said, if it can break through 23, it could be a good trade. Now you notice it went down to 22.61, but then it came back up here, and I put a broker alert. In other words, I set my broker platform to give me an alert at I think it was about 23.04 actually. And you can also see though on my custom setup, it gave me an alert at 23.01. And this would have been right at noon. Right here is when I got the alert. Now, what happened is it popped up above 23 and then it came right back down to about 23.98. And it said to the room, let's wait for the second break of 23. And So what I did was I watched it go up, and I was literally, and I don't generally put market orders in, and I was putting in an order, starting to type in an order to get it at 2308, I think it was. I wanted to make sure that it was above. This is a high 2305. I wanted to make sure it got above it. And as I was typing that in, look what happened. It just literally, this is, remember, this is a 2 minute candle, but this is in like literally seconds that it went from 2308 down to 2265. So I was just so lucky on this one, again, just like the one previous I was talking about, that I did not take, I wasn't able to take this trade because it just collapsed. And, who knows why? I mean, here you get the nice volume spike that we were talking about in the previous one, and you can see that it did pop it over. And so you're thinking, okay, everything's fine. And then literally in the next second, you're getting this one, and it just collapsed. So very fortunate that I did not take that trade because it would have, I was prepared to take a few shares in this. Let me just take a look at the daily. The daily had really, I mean, it was a great day and it had broken free all this. So really not a lot of restraint to it or resistance to it. So I was getting prepared to take a few shares of this. So just the luck of the draw. But this is what can happen when you day trade, and you just have to be prepared for things like that. So that's it for today. Rather exciting day. I want to make sure that I didn't forget anything. No, that is about it. So just bring back the cover page and hope to see you in the room on Monday.